Warriors Unite! Back with another episode of Bigger Warriors 2 1% Club. I did not get a chance to do one last night on Wednesday, but we'll do one on Thursday here. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are following your purposes to God's purposes, conquesting yourself, conquesting other people. I forgot the shout outs again. My sheet, I do have a topic sheet, but it's on a different sheet than my shout outs. So hope you guys are doing well, my friends. Life is good. No matter what's happening around you internally, the more you retain, the more you have self-control, the more closer you get to God, the better off you're feeling. I think I'm hitting almost like 1,300 days or something like that. I feel tremendous, and I feel great when it comes to talking about this, which is why I do it all the time too. All right, so the topic today. This comes from Funky Lover 1298. I hope I got that right. And the question is, will I be lonely on semen retention? Well, let's talk about this a little bit. So this is my opinion, of course, and there's not, I don't have a lot of research to back it up, and I'm a research person, so I did that for years. But this is more instinct because I believe that there are things out there that cannot be discovered, called for by science. I think the scientific method is good at certain cases, but I also think that there's things that cannot be explained. And spirits and energy and those type of things are a big part of what we can't really explain that well, why that happens. So let's go to the topic, loneliness. So where does loneliness come from? This is one thing we had to kind of take a step back and look at. So loneliness really is an absence of a feeling of a person around you. Now, that means that you are lonely, even though you're sitting there, your person in total, you are lonely. So a person who could be in a room with a lot of people could still feel lonely. Now, loneliness, we always like companionship. We like people around us. But at the end of the day, especially if you're only procreating and releasing only procreation, you find that it doesn't really matter if you have somebody around you or not. So the whole idea of loneliness changes when you're on retention, and it changes as you build more self-control. The thought pattern, warriors, is the fact that you don't need anybody around you to make yourself happy or feel whole. You don't need somebody, you don't need to cover that loneliness because your loneliness comes from a feeling inside. Now, will you miss a person? Yes, and if you want to call that loneliness, you can. But the idea is that as you're building retention, as you're building that self-control, you now become a lot more powerful and you can deal with those situations. When I was releasing all the time, I was lonely even though I had people around me. I was still very lonely at times. I was depressed. I had a lot of other issues going on, stress levels and all kinds of physical type elements because I was releasing energy and I fully believe that was what the problem really was. And until I stopped doing this and went monk mode over recently, with the monk mode recently, but also 1,300 days when I first started before COVID started. I think it was right after COVID started, by the way. The thing is that I feel a whole different person. I've lost a lot of weight, 65 pounds. You could probably go back to the early videos and just see that my whole attitude is a lot more relaxed, calm as time has gone on, and I feel closer to the Lord because of that as well. And so if you're closer to the Lord and you're getting closer to where you want to be at, you're not going to be lonely. So the first thing to kind of think about is this whole idea of loneliness. Forget about women for a second. Why are you lonely? So the question becomes then, if you're a person who can kind of find that within themselves, and a lot of that is you're praying to God and figuring out your own situation because we're all different. If you can start to handle this idea of loneliness, and I started handling a lot better when I was retaining and controlling myself and do a lot of things where I was controlling a lot of my addictive behaviors, then all of a sudden, you now don't need women. You don't need women. Now, there's purposes for men and women to be together, of course. Marriage is fine, raising kids is fine, procreation is fine, but you don't need a woman. And this is the problem a lot of warriors, young warriors have. Males get struck by beauty, by someone who's asking them to do a lot of things for them, giving, and so they fall in love. Men fall in love very easily when they're giving and women ask them to help them. All of a sudden, that's a sign for men to fall in love. And if they do that, now they put the woman on a pedestal. The worst thing you can do. Now, I've known that from years of experience. Gentlemen, warriors, it's the worst thing you can do. What you really want to do is you want to treat them like a normal person, but you don't want to put them on a pedestal. You don't want to obviously abuse and be negative, but don't pay a lot of attention. Focus on your goals. And if you are handling that loneliness and you have God in your life and you're able to go ahead and focus on the idea of control and happiness because you're getting closer to God, you don't need women to fulfill your life. Now, women are wonderful, don't get me wrong, but I'm looking at the attitude you have towards women. Don't put them on a pedestal. Don't sit there and think that they're going to solve all your problems, make you happy. No person, male or female, are going to make you happy. You got to find happiness. Then if you find happiness, everyone makes you happy because you have the happiness already inside of you. This is what you got to cultivate. This is what I'm finding out more and more as I do retention. The longer the streak goes, the closer I get to God and the more I attract things. And, guys, I am 63 years old. So, women, even though I'm married for 30 years, they're hitting on me, whining and meet with me, all kinds of stuff. I just think this is simply unbelievable. But it goes back to the fact that as young warriors, we're not trained in this world about how things really are. And really how things are in the real matrix, not the blue matrix that we're sitting there, the red matrix. When we're sitting there, the idea is that men need to be men, do your own thing. Women will follow men. That's the way the Bible talks about it as well. Women will follow men. We have somehow got this all backwards when it comes to men chasing women. You should never chase a woman because women are programmed to come after you. They want to find a mate. They want to find someone that's going to protect them, provide for them. You don't ever need to worry about, if you're on your goals, if you're focusing on what you're supposed to be doing and with God, you're not going to have any trouble finding any women. In fact, you're going to have so many of them, it's ridiculous. And I know people don't believe that when I talk about it. But those of you doing this, you understand what I'm saying. You guys know if you're really sincerely doing this and you're focusing on your goals, women will be there. But you don't need women to make you whole. When it comes to a marriage situation and bringing yokes together and doing God's word, yes, that's fine. I mean, I understand that when it comes to having a family and kids, and you need to have the mom and dad there with the kids, raising the kids. I've seen the bad situations when that happens with kids that I work with in the inner city of Chicago. And the idea is that you're focusing on that. So I do a lot of work in the Chicagoland area, the Milwaukee area, lots of Midwest areas because I travel a lot around the Midwest. And the idea is that basically you're focusing on a lot of inner cities types of things. And those are struggles. I see those all the time when I do my travels. But the idea, guys, is the idea that you should not need to have a woman when you're focusing. You don't need to have that to make loneliness. Therefore, the fact of the matter is, in my opinion now, this is my humble opinion is that you do not need to worry about loneliness when you're on semen retention. Because you have God with you, and the closer you get to God, the less you need everything else around you. In fact, you don't need anything around you. No matter how good it looks, it's not going to match up with what God gives you. And God is with you in your heart, and that's the main thing. So if you do that, all of a sudden loneliness is not a question. Now, if you're releasing a lot and you're struggling with all that, yes, you're still going to see patterns of that. You're not going to be successful until you really commit to this. And a lot of people who email me say, oh, nothing's happened, things like that. You got to look and see if they're really committed. You've got to be really committed, because I know, because for 47 years, I thought I was also doing everything, and I wasn't. I wasn't committed the way I should be. So I talk from big experience here for many years, guys, that if you're only doing it off and on, or you're not doing it, you're not focusing on the real aspect of life. The aspect of life should be you're focusing on God. God is telling you what goals, what purpose you have. Your Creator will tell you that. Women are a secondary thing. In fact, you are the main person. You're the prize. I know we talk about the opposite of this all the time. But That's once again a false illusion, because women, here's the key. You can see this. I see this every day. If a man starts putting a woman on a pedestal, it's just a matter of time before the relationship breaks up. If a man is buying gifts for her all the time, flowers all the time, texting her all the time, he's trying to show his love, which is counterintuitive to women. And this is what women may say they want that, but in actuality, they don't want something unless they're working for it, like all of us. And if they have to go ahead and because of their looks and because they are, that men give them everything, they're not working for it. Therefore, they're not appreciating it. And subconsciously, what happens is that women get bored, or they move on, or they say, I don't want this anymore. It's just a matter of time before that happens in many relationships. So do not put women on a pedestal. Even if you feel lonely, the key, my friends, is not to go ahead and be desperate for a woman. That's not going to solve your loneliness. Even if you're sleeping with women, it may temporarily give you a sense of happiness for a little while, but that's not going to cure your loneliness. The loneliness comes from, and I think this is a great topic, Funky Lover 1298, great topic to talk about. The way to solve loneliness is to get closer to your God, your Creator. That internally then makes you peaceful and happy. You don't need women in your life. You don't need people in your life. Heck, I'm happy going out to the deserts in the Midwest, not deserts in the Midwest, I shouldn't have said that. The forest preserves in the Midwest out there in Indiana and Wisconsin. I love that. I love going out to different places like that and just being out there with nature, with God, with the animals. I love that. If I wasn't working in the big cities all the time, I'd be doing that. So, and I will do that someday. But the idea, guys, is that you really want to focus on you, get yourself together. You then will not be lonely. And if you're not lonely, women have no power over you. They can't tempt you. Satan can't tempt you. And you're all of a sudden going to be a strong, high-value male. Now you're dictating what's going on. You're not feeling like you're confused and at loss and you can't do anything about it. Great topic. When we talk about loneliness, the bottom line, again, my friends, is that the closer you get to your Creator, and obviously retention helps that a great deal, control helps that, praying, meditating, all that kind of going to church, all the things help. But the closer you get to God, the less lonely you should feel internally. Therefore, the less you need women. And therefore, it's not an issue when you're on retention. My humble opinion, I hope you guys take it, think about it, and certainly we can talk about other issues close to this as we get along. All right, enough for today. Once again, guys, I leave you with two great things that I've learned. First of all, we've got to think to ourselves every day, and this may be our last day as a warrior, first day as a warrior, moving on, something else. Every day is a great new day to a warrior. And secondly, we have to continue to fight and wage a war against the evil one. And this is how we do that, through retention, through things. And so this is why, and I know people sometimes don't like me calling, and for that one person who was talking about my cough, I think I got better with it. But we have to continue to really kind of fight this war. And that's why, even though people don't like it sometimes, I've got to kind of ring out the signal, because people need to wake up a little bit and realize how important this is. Not the people who are listening, but other people as well. So that's why I always say, Bella!